When I first thought about doing this video, this was the money shot that I had in my head. What do you think? Well, if you're into DAW controllers, why don't you join me? So clearly today I'm talking about DAW controllers. Now, those of you who follow my channel know that my studio is well stocked in Icon gear. In fact, recently I did a buyer's guide on all the Icon product lines, and a number of you asked me, what about other brands? So I thought, what a great idea. So I reached out to my good friends at Long McQuaid, that's Canada's largest musical instrument retailer with over 80 stores across Canada. There's never one too far away. A special mention to the North York location, that's North Toronto, that's close to where I live. Frank, who's the manager of that store, helped me pull this together by bringing in some additional brands. So a big shout out to all the guys at North York, been really a big help to me as of late, and I really do appreciate it. So we've got Behringer, we've got Presonus, and we've got SSL. So what my plan is today is I'm going to create three categories. We're going to pare this down a little bit, but we're going to have three main categories from entry level up to the more expensive models. Now, Icon has one of the most extensive lineups of DAW controllers, so they're going to be well represented in this video, but we do have the three other brands here. And we're just going to look at the different features to see, which one might be good for you if you're planning to add one to your studio. Now, speaking of a home studio, there's a lot of components you need to buy. And if you're in the process of building a studio, where in the process should you be getting a DAW controller? Well, I'm going to share my thoughts on that a little bit later. Well, we got a lot to cover, so let's get started. So for the controllers to qualify for this guide, they had to meet two criteria. Number one, they had to have motorized faders. I'll explain why that's important in a minute. And the other thing is they had to have universal support for most major DAWs. Now, one minor exception is Presonus, as they have Studio One, and there's some really integrated features with their DAW controllers, but these controllers also work with other DAWs. So if there's something about this unit that you like and you're not a Studio One user, know that you can use this as well. All right, let's start with the first category, and that's the single fader controllers. In the one fader category, we have the Behringer X-Touch 1 and the Icon Pro Audio Platform Nano Air. A one fader device can be mistaken for an entry-level controller. Based on price, that certainly can be the case, but many pro mixers have moved to in the box. So a one fader controller can bring flexible access to transport controls and for writing automation. And of course, when space is an issue. Let's start by taking a look at the Behringer X-Touch 1. The X-Touch 1 is a universal control surface that supports Huey and Mackie control for support across most major DAWs. It has a 100mm touch-sensitive fader, one rotary encoder, 34 illuminated function buttons, an 8-segment LED level indicator, large jog shuttle wheel, and full transport controls. Next up is the Platform Nano Air from Icon Pro Audio. The Platform Nano Air from Icon has one touch-sensitive motorized fader with 10-bit resolution. It has a backlit scribble strip display, 12-segment level indicator, 12-segment LED time display, plus LED indicators around the rotary encoders. Speaking of which, it has 5 rotary encoders, 39 multicolored backlit function buttons with 5 layers of programmable functions, jog shuttle wheel, and full transport controls. And this device is wireless with a built-in 2.4G wireless module. It also supports Mackie and Huey protocols for compatibility across most major DAWs. So both of these devices highlight why I feel it's important for your controller to have a motorized fader, because it doesn't matter how big or small your project is, that single fader will control your entire project. All you have to do is highlight it in your DAW and it will activate the fader for that particular track, which means it doesn't matter how small this is, it can handle any size project. And the motorized fader gives you instant recall as the level of the fader follows the level of the active track in your DAW and vice versa, so there's never any guessing. The differences between the two, the X-Touch 1, now I will say it was hard to get this and there are some supply chain issues with certain brands, nothing to do with retail. It's the reason why Mackie is not in this video. I wanted to have Mackie represented, just couldn't get a unit at the time of this video anyways, but I wanted Behringer in the mix here. This is a great entry-level controller, or if you're an in-the-box user and you just want some specific functions, you can definitely get that out of this particular unit. Like, so you got a nice fader here, big jog shuttle wheel, easy access to your transport controls, nicely well-built unit for the money. It's definitely a great basic controller and can handle, like I said, any size project. Now, by comparison, the Platform Nano Air from Icon, this is a pretty versatile little controller. Now, it shares all the same benefits as the X-Touch, but there are some additional features with this one. Now, for one, this screen here is an add-on. When you buy the basic controller, it ends here, but if you want some more visual on your controller, you can add this D3 screen. Also, there's additional rotary encoders here where the X-Touch has the one that's shared just for additional control. Plus these layer keys here, these function keys are all actually in 5 different layers, so there's a lot of information that can be programmed into this controller. It gives you a lot of control. And really the big feature about this one, aside from the fact that this one's wireless, so you can take it on the go, you don't need any power, this one needs to be plugged in, is the fact that this is part of a modular system. The platform series of controllers, which I actually have them here, they all conform, they're all the same size. So if you're thinking in the future that you might want to expand to a bigger controller, you can expand it using the platform series controllers. We've got the extenders. I've got the main unit over here with the additional transport controls and assignment functions here. And the Platform B Plus, which gives you some more function buttons here. So it's a highly modular system. So if you're looking for a single controller and you think you might want to expand in the future, then you might want to consider the Platform Nano from Icon Pro Audio. If you need at least 8 channels of control, I've got 2 devices in the mid-range category. The PreSonus FaderPort 8 and the Icon Pro Audio QCon Pro G2. Let's take a look at the FaderPort 8 from PreSonus. The FaderPort 8 has 8 touch-sensitive 100mm motorized faders, 8 scribble strip displays, full transport controls with jog shuttle wheel, 1 rotary encoder, various function buttons for event controls, channel controls, navigation, and automation, as well as dedicated solo, mute, and select buttons for each fader. It has native mode for integration with Studio One, plus Huey and Mackie control for support for most other major DAWs. And now for a controller that I've actually had here in my studio for a few years. This is the Icon Pro Audio QCon Pro G2. The QCon Pro G2 is a tough aluminum and metal device. It has 8 touch-sensitive motorized channel faders with 12-segment LED level indicators for each channel, plus a dedicated motorized master fader, 8 dual-function rotary encoders with 11-segment LED position indicators, large backlit LCD display, 12-segment time display, 78 function buttons, jog shuttle wheel, and full transport controls. It is expandable up to 64 channels with the EXG2 extender. It is also compatible with most major DAWs with Huey and Mackie support. So looking at these 2 devices together, the biggest difference I think is obvious. It's the size of the units. But let's take a look at the FaderPort 8 first. Now, if you're a Studio One user, it's almost a no-brainer to go with this controller because there's going to be some tight-knit integration. But really, it comes down to what you expect of the controller. In fact, I did a whole video about that because for me, I mix, I use the pan controls, definitely do some automation and transport controls. That's about as far as I get with my controllers. But if you want to go deeper, if you want that really tight-knit integration, if you are a Studio One user, you definitely want to consider this without a doubt. However, if you're looking to get a universal controller, you can still consider the FaderPort 8 because it will work with all different DAWs. And if you just don't have the space, but you want 8 faders, you're going to get that with the FaderPort 8, where obviously the G2 is going to take up a lot more space. But this is a more substantial unit, definitely a lot bigger, a lot more space in between the faders. Here, they're all really close together. If you've got the space and you want something a little more substantial, this is all metal construction, all metal and aluminum, I believe. And you've got individual rotary encoders for every channel. You have a dedicated master fader. So it comes down to what you want. And 2 really great devices here, a little bit more compact, and like I said, tighter integration with Studio One. I think a more substantial controller here with more independent controls per track and a dedicated master fader. If you're looking for an expandable high-end controller, I've got the UF8 from Solid State Logic and the QCon Pro X from Icon Pro Audio. First up in the premium controller category is the SSL UF8. The UF8 is a premium smart controller with an all-metal construction. It has 8 touch-sensitive 100mm motorized faders, high-resolution color displays for each channel, 8 dual-function rotary encoders, 43 assignable function keys, 5 banks of 8 user keys plus 3 quick keys. The intelligent channel encoder provides mouse scroll emulation and deep plug-in control. It can support 3 DAWs at once and is highly customizable with the SSL 360 app. It can be expanded by adding additional UF8 units. And the last one up, but certainly not least, is a controller that I use here in my studio. This is the Icon Pro Audio QCon Pro X. The QCon Pro X is a durable controller with an all-metal construction. It has 8 touch-sensitive motorized channel faders with 12-segment LED level indicators for each channel, plus a dedicated motorized master fader. Each channel has dedicated solo, mute, record, and select buttons. There are 8-function dual rotary encoders with 11-segment LED position indicators, 2 large backlit LCD displays, 12-segment time display, dedicated user-definable keys in the assignment section, jog shuttle wheel, and full transport controls. It is expandable up to 64 channels with the QCon Pro XS extender. It also has the optional Auto Detect panel, which automatically configures your controller for your favorite DAW and removes the need for an overlay. It is also compatible with most major DAWs with Huey and Mackie support. Now these are two premium DAW controllers with very different philosophies. Now certainly you can look at the size difference. I mean, size is an issue. Keep your head out of the gutter. But it depends on the size of your studio. This is quite a substantial, large unit here, where the SSL is a more streamlined device. But like I said, they have two very different philosophies. And let's start with the SSL. Now, all controllers communicate with the DAW the same way through these predefined protocols. You've got Huey, which is like Pro Tools, Mackie, which handles the load for a lot of other DAWs. That's predefined. So these controllers have to conform to those protocols. But it's what they do before that really makes the difference. And this is a smart controller where there's a lot of programmability in this device, a lot of things you can do to customize it for your workflow that a lot of other DAW controllers can't do. For example, where this device has a dedicated transport controls, this one doesn't. It's all part of the soft key system here, where we have 6 different keys here that changes the structure of these keys up top. So if you're number 1, you're going to get all your transport controls up here with these soft touch buttons up here. You can control 3 different DAWs at the same time. You've got direct plugin control. I think it's more efficient in terms of controlling plugins. It doesn't have a typical jog shuttle wheel. It works much like a mouse to help you navigate around your projects, but other functions like, nudging segments in your timelines, all kinds of things you can do. So it's a very intelligent controller here. It gives you a lot more direct control with the controller. Now, by comparison, this is a more traditional approach to a DAW controller and certainly a workhorse. This is all metal construction and it's quite a large device, so you're definitely going to need some space. But it does have this big meter bridge here, so if you're used to working with a traditional mixer and you want to have your audio levels right in front of you, you've got all that right in front of your eyes right here. Like I said, it is a bigger device, but that gives you a little bit more space in between the faders. Like you see, you have the dedicated transport controls, dedicated jog shuttle wheel here. And like I said, you've got the standard solo, mute, record, and select buttons here, along with dedicated rotary encoders. So, but the other thing about this device is it's designed to be expandable. Now they both are. With the UF8, if you want to expand this to more tracks, you just buy more UF8s. That's just how it works. And you get some redundancy in terms of the plugin section here and these controls here because you're buying a full unit. With Icon, what they do is they actually have extenders as well for this device, where basically you buy the main unit and then you can buy extenders, which is just the fader portion of the controller. Maybe a little bit more efficient in terms of expandability, where you have one main unit and then you can expand it. I believe it's up to 64 tracks, but they are both expandable. Really comes down to what you're doing, but 2 premium controllers here with, I think, 2 really different philosophies. Well, as you can see, there's a DAW controller for every occasion, whether you're a beginner or a pro, whether you've got a small studio or a big studio, or you're considering affordability, portability, programmability, or expandability, there's a DAW controller for you. It really comes down to what you need. You got to do the research. Hopefully I presented enough information here to give you an idea on the differences between the different types of controllers out there. Some of them even have a tighter knit relationship with a specific DAW. It just comes down to what you need. Now I'll put a link in the description for all the available controllers. Long McQuade has all the information that you need on their website, so I'll make sure to link it down below, so definitely check it out. So the last question that needs to be answered is, if you are building a home studio, when's a good time to get a DAW controller? So if you're in the process of building a home studio, there's a lot of steps to this, a lot of gear to acquire. But when's a good time to get a DAW controller? Now, I really think you need to address the need to haves first. Hopefully you've got your computer sorted. You're going to need to know what DAW you're using. You're going to have to hear everything, so that's going to require speaker monitors and or headphones. Now you need to drive that audio in and out, so that's going to require an audio interface. Now hopefully you got your main instrument sorted. If you actually play an instrument, or if you're recording vocals, you're going to need some microphones. But if you've got all that in place and now you're looking to elevate your studio, I think you should consider sound treating your room. That's definitely something you can do yourself. I've got a lot of resources here on my channel. I'll put links in the description. But if you got that all set up, a DAW controller is sort of a device that really elevates your studio. I remember when I got my first one, it really put studio in the word home studio, having that sort of console or mixer in the center of the room and the speaker monitors there. It just felt right. And there's a lot of practical uses for a DAW controller. That hands-on tactile control really brings another element to your mixing. So I think once you've got the need to haves in place and your room is starting to sound a little bit better, I think that's the time to consider a DAW controller. Well, there you have my DAW controllers guide. I certainly hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions at all about any of the gear here, just let me know in the comment section. Do you have a favorite? Any thoughts at all? Let me know in the comments. A big thank you goes out to Long McQuade once again for supplying the additional controllers and helping me bring this video to you. If you want any more information about any of these products or anything we've discussed, long-mcquade.com is your place to go. And if you're in Canada, well, 80 plus stores across the country. Why don't you drop in and say hi and tell them the Lonely Rocker sent you. Anyways, if you really did enjoy this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. If you want to do a deeper dive with me, I'm on Patreon, I have affiliate links, and I even have merch. All that information is down below. But the most important thing is to check out another video. I've got one waiting for you right here. And remember, you don't need a band to rock and roll. And I look forward to seeing you again in another video.